Hey everybody, welcome back to Yoga with Carlin. I'm Carlin, and our class today is Restorative Yoga for Stress and Fatigue. Restorative yoga is where we use lots of props, as you can see here. I'll go over these in a minute, for maximum rest and recharge, but minimum effort. So these props are just all gonna act as a support system for our bodies to just really relax into the postures and eliminate, like I said, that stress and fatigue that we might be experiencing in our daily lives. We'll hold poses anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 or 4 minutes. You can always pause the video and hold longer if you have the time. The longer the better. So for props today, we're going to use 2 yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can stack books instead. Mine are the cork blocks, but if you have the foam ones, those will work as well. We'll also be using a strap, and if you do not have a strap, you can use a tie or a belt, anything that you can kind of wrap around your foot to stretch the hamstrings. And then we'll also be using 2 blankets. I have one of my blankets rolled up like a bolster, so I pretty much just kind of rolled it like a burrito. And we're gonna use it pretty much as a makeshift bolster. If you have a bolster, you can use that as well. And then we will use 1 regular blanket, just folded up as like a square. If you want an extra blanket, you can grab one to cover yourself up. The body will naturally cool down, our temperatures will drop as we settle into these more restorative, restful postures. So I also recommend having layers of clothing nearby that you can throw on, maybe dressing a little bit warmer than you would for a typical vinyasa yoga flow or a typical gentle yoga class. So we are going to get started in a standing position. It will be one of 2 really standing positions of class, and then we'll be on the floor for the rest of class. So you'll need your 2 blocks for this first posture. This is the longest intro ever. I will see you on your mat. Our first 2 postures here will be some of our shorter holds. So bend the knees a lot, hips width distance apart. That's 2 of your fists that could fit in between the feet. Bring your blocks to the highest height for maximum support. And then just bend the elbows and hang heavy, chest to thigh connection. Again, bend the knees as much as you need to. Bend the elbows as much as you need to. As you round forward, just relax the shoulders, creating that C curve with the spine. So we're a little bit more supported in this ragdoll forward fold than we might be in a typical yoga class. The blocks are here to help us. Just gonna take 3 more breaths here. We're not in these first few postures for long. As you're ready, we'll come into a restorative downward facing dog. I know that sounds counterintuitive because down dog is really a working posture, but we will use 1 block for this. And again, we'll only be here for about 5 breaths. So this takes a little bit of setting up, moving the block around a little bit. So you're gonna bring your hands to the top of the mat, spread them wide like you would in a down dog. And what we want is for the block to come, wow, that was a pretty good guess. We want the block to come right to the crown of the head so that we're in our down dog, but our arms aren't working as hard because the head is resting on the block. If you are feeling really far from the ground, you can always stack 2 blocks maybe one on the shorter height, one on the higher height. This is a lot better with the cork blocks because it offers more support. And you can always bend the knees here too. But when you're ready, just come into that down dog with the crown of the head on the block. And again, just take 5 breaths. Really keeping the weight out of your arms and shoulders and just using this as an opportunity to really stretch the back of the legs. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, bend the knees. You'll move that block out of the way and just gently come onto your seat. We are setting up for a restorative Supta Baddha Konasana. We're going to be reclined here in our bound angle pose. And we're going to be using all of our props here except for the strap. So, your bolster or your burrito blanket is going to be a pillow for your head. This blanket you can either use to cover you up, or I actually like this as support underneath my low back. So I'm gonna come to lie down here. I'm gonna take this bolster right to the base of the skull, so it's a nice pillow. I'm gonna take this blanket right to my low back. And then I'm gonna bring the soles of my feet to touch and let my knees come out wide. And as I lie here, I start to feel a little bit of tension in my knees and my inner thighs. This can be a lot of work. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those blocks and just fit them nice and neatly underneath my thighs here, so that I'm kind of taking the work out of this. And it's not so hard to keep my legs up. They have that support beneath them. The arms can come long at your sides. You can take one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. And again, you can always cover yourself with an additional blanket here. Even with all these props as support, this is probably one of the postures in this class today that I experienced some of the most tension. So just breathe through anything that comes up. Follow your long inhales. Allow them to create space in the body before exhaling deeply and slowly. The longer we hold these postures, the more we allow our bodies to just sink into this, letting go of tension, unclenching the jaw, relaxing the muscles in the face, really just inviting relaxation and rejuvenation into the body from head to toe. Take your last 2 to 3 breaths. So we take our time in restorative yoga. So we took our time coming into the posture and getting settled. We'll take our time coming out of it. Gently bring your hands to your outer thighs and just press the legs closed like you're closing a book. And then move those blocks off to the side. And from here, before you get up, it might feel good to just take the feet out wide and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Might have created some tension in the outer hips, so just let go of that. And then when you're ready, we'll roll to either the right or the left side and just gently press yourself back up to a seated position. And we'll set up for our supported Balasana or supported child's pose. Again, we're going to use most props here besides our strap. So I am going to set up in a wide-legged child's pose, knees apart, toes together. And I'm gonna just stick my bolster right in between my legs there, so it comes all the way up to the pubic bone, so it's a place to rest. And then from there, I'll take 1 block and 2 blocks, and then I will take my blanket on top of those blocks, so it's a nice soft place to rest. Again, you can always use an additional blanket to cover yourself up once you come into the child's pose. But when you're ready, you're just gonna walk the hands forward and just settle in. So with the blanket and the blocks as props, I sometimes like to come to either cheek in a restorative child's pose. Just feels a little bit better, a little bit more natural, rather than kind of having my head in the blanket there, but that's just me. You do what feels good for you. And if you are choosing to rest on a cheek, I will let you know when we are about halfway through so that you can switch it out and rest on the other cheek. Keep that neck nice and even. So settle in here, breathe. Long, slow breaths. We're about halfway through. If you're resting on a cheek, go ahead, switch it over to the other cheek. to slowly come out of the posture, coming back through center, and just gently walking the hands back into the center of the body, and coming up into a seated position. Maybe take a little chest opener here, counteracting that rounding forward of the shoulders, squeezing the shoulder blades together, opening through the heart. And then when you're ready, just go ahead and remove that bolster. We're gonna keep this set up with the blocks and the blanket exactly how it is. We're just gonna take a little twist here, just about 30 seconds on each side. So we'll start on the left side. So you're gonna bring your left hip all the way up towards that bottom block, the block that's closest to the hip. And then your right leg will be a little bit further out and your left leg will be bent so that it's parallel to the top of the mat. And this time we're just gonna crawl ourselves forward and kind of twist, bringing the right ear down to the block. And then if your setup is not quite long enough, you can always add that bolster on just to give it a little bit more length. Just about 5 breaths here. When you're ready after those 5 breaths, just go ahead and walk the hands back in through center, bringing yourself back to upright, and then taking it to the other side. So this time that right hip will come all the way up to that first block. It can be a couple inches of space in between. Your left leg will be a little bit more bent, but that right leg will be almost parallel to the top edge of the mat. And again, we're just gonna crawl ourselves down, and we're twisting as we crawl down. We're taking the left ear down to the bolster, the blanket. One side might feel a lot more natural. It's this side for me. Just settle in for those same 5 deep breaths. Whenever this side feels complete, again, you'll gently walk yourself back up to that upright seated posture. And we're gonna come onto our backs. You can lie down on your back. I'm gonna actually face the opposite direction just for spatial reasons. But you can keep these blocks in the blanket exactly as they are and just take them off over to the right side. We're gonna be taking a hamstring stretch here. I'm gonna use this bolster as a pillow, coming to lie down on my back. And again, you may need to do some readjusting here, and that's okay. You can keep that left knee bent or you can take it out long. And I'm just gonna loop the strap around my right foot. And I'm taking that right foot up to the sky. And we'll first just find a hamstring stretch here. The right knee can be bent, just gently pulling that right foot towards the face. If you keep the left knee bent, the left foot flat down on the ground, so we'll be a little bit gentler in the low back. Breathing into the posterior chain, the back of the right leg. gently let that right foot fall out towards the right side. And the reason I set up my props here is because if the leg reaches, you can let that leg rest on the props. Again, taking the work out of this, stretching that right inner thigh without really feeling the pressure of having to hold that leg up. Just let it rest. And if your leg is not reaching the props today, that's okay too. Just breathe wherever you are. We're not here for long. As you're ready, we'll gently pull that right leg back up through center, squeezing right inner thigh to left inner thigh. And then we'll gently unravel that right foot from the strap. And I'm just gonna roll onto my right side just so I can take these props over to the other side. And then I'll move over a little bit. This is probably easier if you have a little bit more space, but we make do with what we have. Coming down onto my back. Again, I'm gonna keep that right foot flat on the ground, right knee bent, a little bit more support for the low back, looping the strap around the bottom of the left foot, and then flexing the left toes towards the face as I pull them in, keeping that left knee bent. Make sure you're not locking it out. Couple breaths here. And again, when you're ready, just take the strap in the left hand and gently let that left leg fall off to the left side and stop wherever it feels good. It is okay if that right knee comes in a little bit. Just make sure there's no tension. You can always walk your right foot a little bit closer to the left foot. And then from here, just taking some nice deep breaths. Stretching the left inner thigh. Take your last breath or two here. And then when you're ready, take that strap in both hands. Gently pull left thigh in towards right thigh. And then bend the knee. Take that strap from the foot. And we'll just roll onto our left side and make our way up to a seated position. So at this point in class, you can feel free to take a Shavasana, coming to lie down on your back. Sometimes when I take classes for stress or fatigue, I want them to rejuvenate me in a way that kind of gives me energy. So I'm gonna finish off in a seated posture today. Again, take a child's pose or a Shavasana if that's what works better for you. If you're coming with me, we're just gonna take a gentle twist. Inhale, lift the fingertips up. Exhale, gentle twist to the right, doesn't have to be deep. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, twist to the left. Doesn't have to be a deep twist. And let's go one more time each side. Inhale, lift up through center. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, up through center. Exhale, twist to the left. Come back through center, bring the hands to heart center. Thank you all for practicing with me today. Namaste. If you enjoyed today's class, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss a weekly yoga class. Leave me feedback in the comments. What did you like about class? What would you like to see next time? And you can always follow me on Instagram at calmwithcarlin. And I hope to see you back here on your mat again soon.